how often do you see Jerry move his shoulder back?
I don't think I've ever, maybe in an after pulling video, from like
from like the 90s.
Thousands.
Yeah. I saw him win a world championships with a top roll.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Gold medal, I think it was. I think it was against the Brazilian guy. Somewhere on YouTube, I'm watching. I'm like, oh my God, Jerry just won a gold medal with a top roll. It's like 1987 or something. Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the King's move a little bit, and obviously don't give away any of your game plan if you don't want to. But it seems to me like everyone thinks there's only one blueprint on how to beat the King's move. You know, the kickback and climb, gain hand control, transition to a press, and win. Do you think there are many different ways to beat the King's move that maybe haven't been explored yet? You know, Ryan Bowen did a video, or did you?
Well, yeah. Here.
Sorry, Dev, you just froze for a bit.
Yeah.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yep. You're there now.
Yeah. Okay. I think that when you look at the King's move, so right away we're in the strap.
Yeah.
And what the King's move is really doing, it tries to get as much height as it can. It tries. But normally that option is that's like its soft lead. The soft lead to the King's move is you're always climbing. But as soon as kind of the rubber hits the road and kind of the pressures start to go, the King's move is rolling hard, rolling for everything it has, and it's dragging the person off. And the goal is to open the person's arm and to target their wrist. Now, when you look at what's going on with that move, so the one thing it's not really fighting for is height. And it's got a hard turn. So I think that one of the most difficult things to do is to cup a King's move. Just to straight up just cup it. I think that, and that's why it works so well against guys who are really cup reliant. Because the King's move is designed very much to target that.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's impossible, okay? Because, depending on your level of either strength or calcification, because I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, both are involved in a high-level King's moving.
For sure.
But when a person has that ability to hard stop, like if you run into a guy who has that place where it's not even really muscularly possible. Okay. Like I remember when I first started King's moving, open top rolling back, like I'm talking like way back, like I pissed around with it like 15 years ago. And it was terrible because, you don't have that hard stop. If you have that ability to like where your lack of range and your ability to kind of negotiate so it falls into that place, if you have that, it's really hard to do a cup attack. So I feel like a great strategy against it is to let the cup go, right? The King's move's fighting so hard for the cup, flop. And that's why Jerry and Michael always have wars.
Yeah.
Because the flop is just, it's like the anti of the King's move, right? The one fights so hard for pronation, the other one gives his cup away. So that's an interesting match. But I think that the textbook answer, again, is to climb over it. I think if you can do that, climb, hold, move into a press after the position has been established, I do think that that's the textbook answer. There is certainly a press option in there, most certainly, because in the King's move, what's happening is you give up your shoulder angle for more of that ability to twist onto that hand. And as soon as you start to give this away, you better watch out for a guy who knows how to press.
Yeah.
So that's always kind of in there. So I think that the worst technical choice is hooking. I think that the best is posting and flopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and top rolling, standard top rolling is really no better. Like a standard top roll is maybe even worse than a hook.
Because you're relying on some sort of drag as well, right? So you're dragging against their drag, which is, if you're good at it, is probably not a winning battle. And what about not to bring it back to the bicep for any means other than the fact that how you were working through the range.
Yeah.
That's a little different than just climbing. Like, I remember the very first time I did it to you, like my left is better. So the very first time I did it to you on my left, I remember you coming back climbing and then you going out of my hand and over my hand a little bit, like hitting it completely differently. And the way that you were coming back in the range is different, it feels like.
Yeah, well, that's another thing about the King's move is you're relying on that stop, right? You're relying on that ability to lock, and you're hoping that the person stays on it.
Yeah,
right. That's
exactly.
the best. That's the best thing that can ever happen is if the person just keeps on trying to work through it. I mean, if you're on offense against the King's move, as soon as you hit that stop, right away you should back off of it. Yeah. And if you have the ability to back way off, then you have the ability to really take a big run at it.
Yeah.
Which can build up a lot of speed for hitting that lock at the end, which,
Yeah.
that can work. That can work.
Yeah.
In that moment where you're coming back, that gives the other person, the King's mover, an option to come up and press in that moment, in that split second.
Yeah, but and that's where the King's move is not going to be as efficient, because that guy who's standing tall is going to have way better movement with their base than the guy who's having to dip and then trying to stand up and generate some kind of an option there.
Yep.
It's hard because when you're in a King's move, you're not controlling the top of the mountain, right?
No, yeah.
You're down there at the base.
Between the bottom, yeah.
You're down there at the bottom. And that guy who's not going to stay there with you, who's like running all over the hill, fucking... Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like when you hit that hard stop, really, I mean, and it doesn't just apply to a King's move. You hit a guy with a rock solid bicep, and you hit that lock. Probably you want to back off that thing. Probably
find a different lane.
Probably find a different lane, or at least back off so you can get another run at it. Don't just stay on that lock, right? Come back so you can chop at it or whatever.
Yeah. It's an interesting point. Nutrition. Should we talk about pancakes? You got some more time still?
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't been eating.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Keeping it going. All right, good. Keeping the game train.
I'm like a non-stop eating machine, guys. Seriously, I am just like, I'm eating and eating and eating.
You know what your calorie intake is?
I'll tell you, I'm so disgusting right now. Like, my stomach is constantly distended. Like, from the time I wake up, I eat. Normally, like when I'm living like normal and living healthy, I normally don't eat breakfast. I'll normally go and work out or go for a first thing I do.
Yeah.
And I'm getting bad. Like I normally don't even wait for the pancakes to be done now. I normally start hitting the maple syrup right away. Like I sometimes get up in the middle of the night, go down to the fridge, and I'm just drinking it. Yeah. And it's bad right now. It's bad. And
that's how you know you're a true fat kid, when you get up in the middle of the night for some sugar. Trust me, that's how you know you're a true fat kid.
Right?
Does that feel horrible then? Like, are you in pain? Is your stomach like crying?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's bad. Like, I'm eating, honestly, so much. My stomach is constantly full.
So it's a mission thing. It's a force feed mission.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
100%.
I feel like, people talk about, conditioning and weight gain and bloating and it's all true. Everything is a factor, but to me, I feel like I need to be strong, like really strong.
Yeah.
Like if I just be and I cheated the other day and I gave myself an easier day. Like I just settled down for a bit and my stomach flattened out a little bit. It came a bit back to normal. So I think,
The body needs rest on every level, everywhere. Even the digestive system needs a little rest in order to keep up and still maintain process and all that material.
But yeah, I'm eating a lot, and I'm eating a ton of high glycemic carbs.
Do you think you would feel maybe better if you ate more whole foods, more complex carbohydrates?
For sure, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll be stronger drinking syrup.
You think?
Yeah. I do.
Yeah, the syrup is. I guess one thing was the real food versus processed food, and how because I know you love this debate and you love this discussion. So I think we both kind of like maybe understand both sides. So we want to see where that kind of goes. Because there is a point, you're trying to get in so many calories, you're trying to get in so much growth that to do it with whole grains or rice or oatmeal or something would be absolutely retarded. There'd be no way your stomach would be twice as distended. It wouldn't make sense. So there is definitely a point for the efficiency of the calories. And
that's the thing. Like, I mean, there's the digestive system can only work so quickly. And you eat that good, healthy food, the food that we're supposed to eat, the food that makes you healthy, the food that makes you live to 100 years old. It takes long. It takes a long time to get the energy from it. I probably won't get the macros that I really need. That's my thoughts. That's why I do it. Like, I feel like I do try and eat well also. Like, I am eating good food also, but I'm also eating pancakes, maple syrup, like chips, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just because I know it's faster. I know it gets into me quicker. I know I can burn it faster. I know it gets into my cells quicker. And
and it's also, the pumps are good, and it's also the more carbs are protein sparing, right? So now the more protein you're eating, the more your body's going to utilize that for actual protein synthesis, as opposed to even if your calories are at a surplus, if the protein and the carbs aren't super high, like it's still the carbs just help you gain muscle, even if it doesn't make muscle. You know what I mean? And it feels cool, right? So
I agree.
Still eating a good quality of whole foods. You just only post pancakes and Doritos on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see me eating good food, anyways.
Yeah,
no worries. That's true.
So, Bionic arms.
Yeah, you were talking. I was watching your podcast with Pierce and Matt Mask, and you brought the subject of bionic arms, like upgrading your
body mods, and the idea again, obviously with the bicep tear, like hopefully, and it should, and the two people that I have that are close friends that both tore their biceps very early on in the starting arm wrestling, both their biceps are stronger now than they were before they tore them by a long shot. So obviously that's what I'm hoping to happen.
Yep.
And the doctor did say he did put it lower and it's shorter. So
how much lower?
I don't know. I said, how much lower? He just looked at me, laughed, and said, it's shorter, don't worry. And then started telling me if I want to keep arm wrestling, I should make sure to keep my arm inside my body.
Oh, really? He told you that?
Yeah. He's his dad actually was an arm wrestler. He said,
good for him.
Like, maybe just in bars and stuff. He's like, yeah, he's a little guy. He used to beat big guys like you all the time. But anyway, he was really cool about it. But the point is, like, even someone like Dave Chafee broke his arm. I know we pull with Dustin Houghton, who you know, and he broke both his arms, and now his ability to like go to the side is uncanny. And so it just becomes a point, like you said, you think that at some point people are going to do it more as a precautionary thing, like something like, so instead of suffering the injury, you just go and get it dealt with and fixed before it even happens.
Yeah,
you know,
go over to Thailand and just get that surgery. Get it over with.
How far do you think you can go? Like, I started writing them out. I'm like, you think you could put an elbow lock in there? You think you could just, instead of calcification, get a little nugget of surgical metal put in there, and
muscle transplants, get my hamstring put in my bicep.
It's
yeah, man.
Right?
I think it is.
As Levon is.
The thing is I don't think arm wrestling will be the first sport. So really, like, is it happening in other sports?
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah, probably, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just funny how arm wrestling is so specific to the one thing. You know, it's like you could.
Actually, I do think in somewhere in Asia, they're like lengthening their femurs or their calves to make them taller.
Yeah,
that's remodels. That's been going on forever.
Right.
Yeah,
so they can.
That's
do
not
that.
a new.
Yeah.
They can show them, right?
Yep. It's for sure going to happen. I think that we'll see it coming though, because I think it'll happen in other sports first. Yeah. Like with boxers. Imagine, like, if I was going to be a boxer, the first thing I'd do is I'd move my brain to like my ass. I'd just like I'd switch the spinal cord. So like,
how do you sit down?
You don't sit down.
You're always running because you're boxing. You're a boxer. You
can get hit in the head as much as you want. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
So, like,
I thought you were gonna go with like metal in the hands or something,
or
like
some padding
steel,
in here,
brass knuckles in here.
Just move the brain.
Just
move
protect the vital. Vital parts.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll happen. I mean, I think that we're already starting to go that way with just, I mean, you see guys getting the stem cells, you see guys, prolotherapy, it's just
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess that's, go ahead. Sorry.
It's just a natural evolution,
Yeah.
Natural evolution.
People won't be caring about PEDs once that hits the sport.
Yeah, I guess the last thing maybe, what's your consideration on the whole bulletproof testing thing? The idea of Ryan, and not even that match, just the idea of if that would be good for the sport or not.
You think arm wrestling should push for drug-free arm wrestling?
Well, I think it's good to have it. It's just there should be a distinction for sure. Like, I think it's great that we have the WAF, and I don't know, is IFA testing now also?
That's the thing. I mean, both those, I think they do, but again, because it's such a small thing, how much can you actually do, and how much cheating is happening in those leagues, right? And
I know it.
There's no way.
Look at. I know that you can't stop anything. You can't, but I do like the idea that there are some leagues that kind of do something to keep like people a little bit more human, and then then obviously there's the rest of it where people are whatever, which is probably in a lot of ways just a lot more honest, because it's so difficult. And how many people do I even know who have gone to WAF fully loaded up and just risked it and won, not been tested.
I'll be tested if they've won.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
I know guys who have gold medals, right. and I know that they got lucky. I know.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. I mean, the whole test.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I think with the sport, because it's so small, like once you get into it, you just got to realize that the tiers are there, and if you want to compete at that level, you're going to risk it on either level. You're either going to risk it by being under, going into a gunfight with a knife, or you're going to risk it by, like you said, like taking a chance of whether or not you're going to pop at a high level.
It's the whole drug thing is very interesting. I think a lot about kids, and when I think about the drug issue, I think a lot about younger athletes.
Yeah.
What kind of a environment are we setting them up for? Like, what is the role of sport? What's it supposed to do? I think that it always comes back to education. Just always continue to educate yourself constantly on what's going on, what are people doing, what are you getting yourself into, and just make sure that you're comfortable with the process, with the arena that you're competing in, with the challenges that you're undertaking. Just make sure that you're educated and comfortable.
Yeah.
Because
I think transparency is going to be the best thing, because people go into the sport not knowing that people are taking drugs, and they get discouraged, or they start taking them way too early because they think that's the answer.
Yeah, and there's really in any sport, there's a huge part that you want to do naturally, you know what I mean? And again, without any transparency, people don't know. Not just in because arm wrestling is now a new up and coming sport, but even for in the fitness industry, it's huge, or in sports like UFC or
probably
football and any kind of pro level sport, the Olympics. Like, there's so many levels, weightlifting and stuff, where because there's no transparency, everybody it's confusing in every sport. So it's understanding that as arm wrestling gets bigger, people start to point fingers and get confused about it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, what you said, I think it's about education. Like in any sport, like even with the King's move or the flop press, like when people, you don't want to do the King's move because I don't want kids to learn it because it's dangerous. But it's like, well, if you teach them how to bury a deep hook, that's dangerous too. Like, they're both just as dangerous. And the point is good coaching, good education. So like you just said, what you're getting yourself into, what putting your shoulder forward means, and what putting your elbow at the end of the pad means. You know what I mean? Like it's part of, it's the same thing in football. Like, you learn how to hit because if you hit wrong, you're going to break your neck. You know what I mean? Like, you got to teach kids how to tackle. Even if the way that you see somebody run in the NFL might be because they've been doing it for 20 years, they've learned a way to make it look different, but they still started with the basics, You have to start with education. That's definitely the key, right?
Competitive sports are dangerous.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's competitive, you run a chance of injury from one thing or another. I think that there's a lot of different things you can get at arm wrestling. If you are one of these guys who wants to be the best, who wants to expose yourself to all the challenges, you're gonna run into so many pitfalls and dangers, and the education process is going to be long and lengthy. I think that for mainstream, I don't think that there's a requirement for most people to go at it at that level. Yeah. I think that most people can get a ton from sports when they don't take it quite as seriously. Yeah. When I think about kids and do I put my daughter in competitive gymnastics or recreational gymnastics? Do I put my boy in competitive basketball or do I put him in rec basketball? Normally, there's never really a whole lot of negatives with the rec side. Normally people just get a lot of the good stuff. You get a lot of the really broad lessons that you're going to have, good things happen from your life from. Recreational. Competitive, it's a whole nother animal. That's a level of seriousness that some people may or may not want in their lives. Yeah. When people decide, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the answers I'll tell you, if there was a kid that came to me and said, I want to be the best in the world, I wouldn't tell him to do drugs. Oh, yeah. I'd be like, okay, go have fun with it. Learn everything. Go lose to a ton of people, and once you can. Yeah, I think that sometimes people are in way too much of a rush. Yeah. I think that one of the worst things that can happen is you get too good too quick. Yeah. You get too good too quick, then you won. one of the worst things that can happen is you actually win when you should have lost. Then what happens is you teach yourself kind of like a false lesson. And that is going to make your next match and the match after that terrible. So it's better almost when for the first part of your career, you be weak and you get your wins because you did it right, and then, if at some point you decide you want to be a psycho, well, then jump in the fire, right? Jump in, but
sense.
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right.
Well, that was an awesome talk.
I don't know if we got anything else they want to cover, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. But
always good to talk to you guys. Love you guys. I love what you guys have done in Toronto.
Thank you.
Can't wait to come back down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Your birthday's coming up, eh?
Yeah. We're both Taurus. Yeah.
Yeah.
May 15th. But you're focusing on this match, and we might be doing something in a weird alternate universe again. There might be anything happening. Who knows? But yeah, we'll see what's going on. But 4 weeks out now, is that what it is? Almost 4 weeks out.
4 weeks. Yeah. 4 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Come home with that.
That victory,
legacy
hammer and.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Hopefully we see you later in the summer.
Thanks so much for your time, guys.
You too, man. Devin. Thank you so much, man.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
Later.
All right, ciao, buddy.